Hello. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ben. And I haven't known Jay for quite as long as Doug has. We only go back 16 years now, which sounds like a very long time. When I first met Jay, I was a freshman at Emory University. Closer? This better? All right. When I first met Jay, I was a freshman at Emory University. And thank you. And Jay was a sophomore, and I was interviewing to be his sophomore advisor the next year. We were going to live in a freshman hall together. Back then, Jay had long hair that he tied back in a ponytail. He was a proud member of a fraternity. And, yeah, you were. Yeah. And he could recite every single line from The Real Genius and Back to the Future verbatim. Some things never change. I think ever since I met Jay, one of the things that's really stood out about him is that he's always been very confident and very comfortable in his own skin. And sometimes that manifests itself as being, Jay has very selective habits. And for those of us who know him, we might even say picky habits. Someone mentioned the other night that, that Jay won't see movie previews. He's done that for as long as I've known him. But what no one has mentioned so far, Jay has this thing that he calls his internal alarm clock. Most people, when they need to wake up at a certain time in the morning, will set an alarm. That's not Jay. Jay thinks that at any given moment of the day, he knows exactly what time it is. And if that isn't crazy enough, that even extends to when he's sleeping. And he thinks that if he needs to wake up at a particular hour, he'll be able to set his internal alarm clock, and he'll get up exactly when he wants to get up. Miraculously, this has actually sort of worked for Jay in life, but I think that's probably because he doesn't have to be at work until 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's not really that big of a deal. No, but on a more serious note, Jay has always had a great sense of self-confidence, and I think maybe one of the better examples of that is when he was a senior, I guess, at Emory, and I was a junior. He wanted to enter an essay that he had written for one of his classes. He wanted to enter it into this contest that was being run by, it was a foundation that was run by Elie Wiesel, who's the Nobel Prize winner. And he was running this contest, this competition for essays in the humanities. And at the time, I was the executive editor of the Emory newspaper, and Jay came to me and he said, I'd really appreciate it if you take a look at my essay and just make sure that it looks pretty good, and it's something I can submit. And I said, no problem, happy to do it. So I spent a couple hours and I looked at it, and I went back to him and I said, listen, Jay, I mean, it's good, but I think this needs some real work. It's it kind of tenses jump around a little bit, and your thesis needs to be tightened up. And in typical Jay style, he basically ignored me, and he said, thanks very much. I appreciate what you said, but I'm going to submit it anyway. So about 2 months later, he got a letter from the Elie Wiesel Foundation that he had won second prize in the entire contest. It was like thousands of people. And they flew him to New York, and he went to this reception, and he met Elie Wiesel, and Elie Wiesel called him all sorts of wonderful things, and he won a couple $1,000s, and he got written up in the paper. And I guess there are two lessons that you can take away from that. One, which Jay likes to take away, is that he should just never listen to me. But I like to look at it a little bit differently, which is that if he had actually paid attention to all the stuff I told him, he would have won first place. No, there's really not enough time to discuss all of the peculiar habits or interesting things about Jay that make him great as a person. But one thing I did want to talk about was Jay's confidence in terms of the way that he is and the way that he selects the people that he hangs out with in life, his friends. It's sort of a funny story. Jay used to have this avocado plant named Avi. And he grew Avi from a little pit, and he watered Avi every single day, and he gave Avi lots of sunlight, and he was, he even gave Avi a name, Avi. And he was just infatuated with Avi. He loved Avi like Avi was a pet or a person. And unfortunately, Avi is no longer with us. I'm really sorry about that, Jay. I should have watered him. Jay, the way Jay is around all of his friends is he really treats his friends like he treated Avi. He constantly pays attention to us. He constantly waters us and nurtures us. And I mean, someone said the other night that Jay has a spreadsheet where he will, keep track of how often we've called him and how often we, what's going on with us. And it's true. Jay is always that person who is there. He is always a caring person who is always touching base. He wants to find out what's going on. And it's sort of uncanny, actually. It'll be radio silence for a long time. Things will get busy. And just when, like 2 weeks will go by, and right like clockwork, the phone will ring and it'll be Jay. And he'll be giving me grief for not calling him. But the other night when some people were showing the slideshow, a couple of us were talking afterward, and there was a picture in there from Jay's 21st birthday. And one of the things that stands out, other than the fact how young we all looked, which is just crazy, is that the same people that Jay hung out with when he was 21 years old, which I'm not going to date you, but it was a long time ago, are the same people that he hangs out with now. And are the same people that he invited to this wedding. And I think it, without being too corny about it, it really says a lot about how loyal he is as a friend. And I think that a lot of us are very fortunate that we've all known each other for a long time from memory. And we've all been very good friends, and it's been a very long time. And it's sort of uncanny how I think a lot of that is due to Jay. And I think I was trying to think about all the things that make Jay great, but that's really what stands out, is how selective he is in the people he hangs out with and the people he surrounds himself with, and that really extends to Tammy. I think when Jay started dating Tammy, all of us who knew him were kind of blown away by, and knew almost at once that it was really going to last. I'm not going to go over all the things that people said in their vows, or that, or would be here all night, but I don't think I have ever seen Jay happier, more content, more just happy in life than he is in the last 2 years. And it's wonderful to see, and I think you guys are so natural together and so happy together. And hopefully, you guys, I hope you never change. It's wonderful to be here. It's a great. I'm very honored that you asked me to be up here. You guys are very social people and have a lot of friends. And I know that I always knew, Jay, that you would have a small wedding, not because you didn't have a lot of friends who you're close with and that people you like to see and hang out with, but you're selective and you like to surround yourself with people who you really care about. And I'm very honored you asked me to be up here, and I really hope you guys have a very long, happy marriage, lots of kids, and you can go ahead and start as soon as you want. So cheers.